just had to get my millennial head off. And I think COVID's been good for that. It's made me certainly slow down a little bit and not want everything now, because I know we're kind of in this for the long run.
Hey guys, welcome back to When It Hits the Fan, the podcast where we delve into what really happens when things go wrong on the road. Brought to you by Battleface, the tough face of travel insurance. Now, when it comes to endurance, few names have proven their mettle as many times as today's guest. Sean Conway has accomplished an astonishing array of physical challenges, including spending 4.5 months swimming from Land's End to John O'Groats, a 4,200-mile ultimate triathlon, circumnavigating the entire coastline of mainland Britain, breaking cycling records crossing Europe, and let's not forget, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro dressed as a penguin to raise money for charity. Needless to say, this is not a man who shies away from a challenge. Of course, Sean has tons of stories to tell from his various exploits, but today we actually want to take a different angle, and it's something that most of us can relate to. How does someone like Sean, so driven by physical challenge and new experiences, endure being in lockdown? This is a really illuminating interview that goes into some of the psychological hurdles of engaging in endurance adventures, and specifically the 496 challenge that Sean has recently been undertaking. Sean is the author of 5 books documenting his experiences. And if you want to find out more about him, we've put a link to his website in the description below. Guys, we've got loads of great guests lined up for upcoming episodes of When It Hits the Fan. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And of course, we'd love it if you could give us a like or a positive review on whichever platform you're using. But that's enough from me. Let's hear from Sean himself. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime, mate. Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
Good stuff. So look, Sean, I talked about, some of your amazing achievements at the start. But I think kind of what is very interesting is we've all been through something very significant over the past few months, over the past year, in fact, which is kind of being forced into lockdown. How has someone as active as you dealt with that?
I didn't deal with it very well at the beginning, if I'm honest. I was sort of, had all these plans like everyone set in for the later part of 2020 and into 2021. And I never knew when it was going to happen. So I kept postponing by a few months. And that just was leaving me sort of in limbo land, which wasn't good for me. I thrive on having big projects and knowing when they're going to happen and working towards them. Like that's kind of my oxygen. So eventually, sort of coming towards the end of last year, I just said, you know what, let me just shelve all my pre-planned ideas and push them way back, 2022. And it was the best decision I ever made. I just said, right, everything I had planned for 2020, 2021, I'm just going to push it to 2022, maybe even 2023, and it took the pressure off, which then just opened up my diary. And it was great. And then all of a sudden, I had all this free time to spend with my family, which is quite rare for me. I'm away a lot, and I got to be at home with my son and see him take his first steps and crawling and all this sort of stuff, which I would have missed because I had these other big projects on the go. So once I'd made that decision to just not worry about, doing all these things that I had planned for years, it was really nice. And then it allowed me to sort of think of other stuff, all of a sudden I thought, well, what can I do from home? What can keep me creatively inspired? What can keep me fit? What can keep me active? And yeah, I came up with a few challenges to do from home, which was great,
Absolutely. I really want to talk about these because, I've followed these on YouTube, and I think it's a kind of fantastic idea. But you mentioned that, kind of not being able to realize some of the plans you had, or not maybe knowing what you were going to do wasn't good for you. I mean, perhaps this is something that a lot of us have experienced, this uncertainty over the past 12 months of, well, I did plan to do this, but now I can't. And you kind of feel like, you can't really set targets or live the life the way you normally would. Can you go into that a little bit more in terms of how that affected you, being so active, being somebody who, as you say, kind of thrives off challenge and activity?
Yeah, I mean, I just had to get my millennial head off. And I think COVID's been good for that. It's made me certainly slow down a little bit and not want everything now, because I know we're kind of in this for the long run. We're seeing the end of it now, which is great, but certainly, I saw maybe sort of towards the latter half of last year that things were going to be a bit rubbish, very rubbish for me and family. When it comes to doing the stuff we want to do, like my son is 20 months old now. For more than half his life, he's barely left our house. We've not been able to take him to the beach. We've not been able to take him swimming. He's not been able to do classes with other kids. And, we don't know how that's going to affect him in the long run. I mean, he's still managing to go to nursery a couple of days a week. So that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. But it's made me sort of kind of go, right, you know what? It's only a year, let's be honest. And it's tough for people, and I understand that. But in the grand scheme of things, I've touched wood, I've probably got another 45, 50 years on this planet. Let's think of the long game, and let's just be actually quite practical about it, and that's kind of helped, just kind of looking at the bigger picture, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And not getting too stressed out about the stuff that I can do anyway when lockdown's over and this is all past in a couple of years. I'll just go back and do it, and I'll go and teach my son how to swim eventually and things like that. And it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I still have my health. Everyone in my family, my immediate family, hasn't been affected by COVID. I've had some distant family members who've died of it, unfortunately, which is very sad, of course. And, I'm fine. We're fine. And we're going to get through this,
Sure. And of course, then I guess, what we're here to talk to you about really is how you got through that in terms of your own mental health, in terms of finding challenges for yourself, because of course, like many other people, you suddenly had to become very localized. Do you want to tell us what you did?
Yeah. So because I knew 2021 was going to be a sort of a clean slate, as it were, I just thought, right, well, what can I do? What can I do from home that's safe and still inspiring for myself? So I came up with this idea of running 1 kilometer on the 1st of January, then 2 kilometers on the 2nd, 3 kilometers on the 3rd, and so on, which obviously means you end January with 31 kilometer run at the end. And if you add all that together, it lands up being 496 kilometers. And it's a thing. People have done it in the past, not many people, but it's called, some people call it Run the Date. I called it the 496 challenge because it sounded cool, and people seem to love it. I loved it. I was just doing it personally for myself as something just to give me some focus in the day, because I spend a lot of time writing. I'm always writing. I've written 6 books. I've currently got another 5 that I'm currently writing, and that does mean if anyone's ever written a book, you do spend a lot of time inside, as much as, I'd love to be able to go and sit in an oak tree and write my book, but I'll be too distracted, so I'm here in my office now. This is where I do all my writing. So I wanted to spend a bit more time outside. So I came up with this 496 challenge and hoped that people would sort of follow me virtually, but actually quite a few people actually did the challenge with me in January. And some people did it in February, which is slightly shorter, cheating.
The 406. What does that add up to?
I think it's 406, I think.
Okay.
So it's still pretty decent.
Sure.
And some people are doing it now in March, which is also the 496. So any month with 31 days, it's 496. And also on top of that, so just doing the mileage excited me. Don't get me wrong. I thought as a challenge, it would be good. I wanted to fall back in love with running again. I haven't done, proper sort of regular running in years. Probably 2016 was the last time I did regular running. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get good at running again. Not that I was ever good, but I just wanted to be able to go out and not worry about, getting injured and that sort of thing, and just enjoy. If I wanted to go up for 3 hours, I knew I could do that risk-free without, blowing up a knee or something. So that was the other challenge. And then also I gave myself mini challenges within the challenge. So every day I gave myself a little bit of a goal to do. And it was great. So I planted a tree, I did some litter picking, I ran up a hill, I ran a route that spelt out my name, I ran another route that drew a picture. There's all these different things I did, which again, just added a little bit of excitement to each day, which is, I think I needed it. I think I needed those extra bits of motivation, because certainly the middle bit, I lost a bit of motivation in the middle. And would I have quit? Probably not. I can't quit. It's just not in my DNA. But I would have been a little bit more miserable had I just gone out and run the same loop with adding an extra kilometer each day.
Well, this is quite interesting. In the YouTube video that we will link to in the description here, you draw this graph that really, and I'm sure you can explain it better than me, that kind of explains, sort of how skill level, motivation, kind of falls and then rises. Perhaps you have this, perhaps you can.
I still have it actually. Yeah. Check this out. Right. So for anyone listening, basically there's two graphs on a table. You got your motivation graph. Whenever you start something, your motivation is always quite high when you start because you're excited. And naturally, it's just normal to lose motivation over time. And at the bottom, the other graph is your skill, or for my case, fitness. So when you first start out running, you're super keen to go for a run, but you're not that fit. But it's fine, you're getting through it. But it's every day you go out for another run, another run, another run. You kind of lose motivation because your fitness, you haven't crossed the fitness motivation graph. And that's when people give up, at the bottom of the graph. But that's the exciting bit, that's the bit where you should keep on going, because all of a sudden you'll start feeling the benefits of your fitness. And when your fitness gets higher than your motivation then actually follows it up again. But it's quite common that everyone gives up on that bit there. So so that kind of helped, just kind of getting over that little hump in the middle.
Can you pinpoint which day was that hump for you?
Well, so I can't remember the exact day. It's in the film. I think it was day 18. No, about day 20, I think.
Okay.
Day 20, 21, 22, somewhere there, which is strangely exactly halfway in mileage. So it takes you 22 days to reach halfway in the total distance. And you do the second half in the last 9 days. And I mean, I think it was, well, I know now, I was stretching a bit more and I was eating more. I didn't change my diet at all for the first 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I wasn't eating any more, even though I was burning way more calories. And I think that didn't help. I also didn't take any food or water with me for the first 2 weeks. Anything up to about 15, 16K, I can just run without having to carry any water or food. And then there was probably a couple of days where I should have had some food and I didn't, so that made me feel rubbish. So all these things added up to make me feel a little bit demotivated by it. But as soon as I did the basics, upped my diet, took a bit of food and water with me, and I actually then started planning a coffee stop. There's no cafes are open, but there was a service station about 10K from here, which I could go, you just get the cheap ones from the machine. And actually that was quite nice. I would sit down in the forecourt having a £1 coffee and a bag of nuts. And that also kind of added to the motivation side of things. So and then I started loving it. And then the second half, I actually didn't go and plant a tree or do any of that because I was just enjoying running. I'd got my mojo back, which was the whole point,
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, and I touched on this at the start, really, in terms of some of the challenges you've done in the past, swimming from Land's End to John O'Groats, real kind of amazing stuff. Do you get the feeling, though, that, people who look at that and think, well, look, I'm not the kind of person who can do this, but something like the 496 challenge is actually a great kind of introductory way of saying, actually, you can do endurance closer to home, kind of, at your own speed and really kind of still experience that the benefits of it, you know, without perhaps something which is going to take 4.5 months and take over your life and, you know, and have to be a full-time job essentially.
Yeah, no, exactly. I still have to do the big stuff for me, for my mental health. I still have to do the big stuff, and I'll never stop doing the big stuff, even if people think it's unrelatable, you know, because that's not me. You know, I'm not going to stop doing the big challenges if people go, oh, well, that's just too big. I'm not going to follow him. I'm not interested in that, because I'm not interested in people following me or that sort of thing. I need to do it for myself, and I'm a better person when I have the big challenges in mind. Yeah, of course, you know, it's great that we can do stuff from our doorstep, and I'm not the flag bearer for that sort of thing. Alistair Humphreys is. You know, he's Mr. Micro Adventure, and I'm not trying to be Al Humphreys. I'm not trying to move into this new genre where going, yeah, you know, you can do stuff from home, but you know, you can do it. Al Humphreys is the guy to go to if you want to get inspiration about doing stuff from your front door and doing micro adventures. Al Humphreys is amazing for that. So this was actually kind of my first little attempt at doing something from home that had a bigger kind of overall goal, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. And I'm going to carry on doing little things from home. At the moment, I'm doing the 40 before 40 challenge. I turned 40 on the 6th of April. So 40 days leading up to my 40th birthday, I'm doing something every single day. You know, the other day I just did a random act of kindness. I left one of my books on a park bench for someone to pick up. Someone challenged me to build a wooden spoon. So I built a wooden spoon. Yesterday, I wrote a bucket list, you know. So these are all little things I can do, you know, at home and keep me creative and inspired as well. So yeah, definitely, we can all do way more stuff at home, but I'm certainly not going to give up the big challenges just yet, you know, because I just have to do those big scary ones, you know.
Well, speaking of the big scary challenges, then I know earlier you mentioned that you'd kind of pushed everything off to 2022. Is there anything that you can tell us about now? Is there anything kind of concrete you'll be doing that year, or is it under wraps?
No, all under wraps, unfortunately. This year, though, I am doing some slightly bigger stuff. I'm hoping, well, I am going to be doing in June, might be July now because of travel, but we'll see, is a marathon in each of the national parks in the UK. I really want to sort of shed light on how amazing the national parks are in the UK and how lucky we are to have them, and the fact that they're free to go into and explore. You know, many countries in the world, national parks are cordoned off. You drive through and you pay your entry fee and you go in and you spend the night or whatever, you camp, which you pay for, and then you leave. Whereas national parks in the UK, you're free to get into, which is a really good thing. I believe that's a good way of doing it in the UK. Some countries you have to do it, you know, you have to have the other model. And I want to share a bit of a love story for our national parks. So I'm going to be doing that in June. And again, that's, you know, not particularly difficult. A marathon a day for 2 weeks is not exactly groundbreaking stuff, but it'll be fun. It'll be a bit of an adventure. So that's sort of the bigger one coming up. And then I would like, you know, I really did fall in love with running in the 496. So I really would love to go and do a 6-week long run at the back end of this year, if I can. And I'd like to do it abroad. I don't know what it is going to be. I don't know where it's going to be. I actually kind of don't care where it is. I just would like to run all day, sleep in a tent, get up and run all day again, and do that for 6 weeks. So yeah, watch this space. Hopefully I'll be able to do that once travel restrictions have been lifted. But yeah, watch this space.
Brilliant. Well, you know, absolutely. And which space should people watch then? I mean, if people want to find out more about, you know, the books you've written, the challenges you've done so far, or in terms of kind of what you're going to do in the future, where should they follow you? Where are you most active?
Oh gosh. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. It's in the love at the moment, so we're all good. Instagram, Sean Conway Adventure, or seanconway.com. Or just search me on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel and it's going to start putting a little bit more content out there, which I'm really enjoying. I used to be a photographer in my old life, as I call it. So I'm really getting quite a buzz out of creating visual content again. So yeah, watch those spaces.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for spending the time having a chat with us, Sean. And as I explained, yeah, we'll put your details below so that people can kind of go off and find a little bit more about you if they don't already know about you. But until then, yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, mate. Keep growing that beard.
I will. Yeah, it'll be your size at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, good stuff. Nice one, mate. Catch you later.
Bye-bye. Guys, that's all we've got time for this episode. We're going to put Sean's details in the description. So if you want to find out more about him, the challenges he's done, or the upcoming challenges which he has planned for this year and next, then you can do that. But until next time, goodbye.